Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Everything is Bad new Fangled motion picture show.
What are we doing, Nolan?
We are reviewing two things, actually. We're reviewing Coco and the Frozen short preceding Coco.
Olaf's Frozen Adventure?
Olaf's Frozen Adventure. Or Christmas? I don't know. Yeah, something like that.
Something Frozen that I would have paid extra money to not see. Like, if I could have given more money to the theater and then just, like, escort me into my seat after it was concluded.
That was a long short, too.
Yeah, it was.
Or it felt really long. Probably because there were, like, 7 songs in it.
Yeah. I will say this about the movie, is it had... Or not the movie, but the short... is it had more decent songs than Frozen did.
I guess? I don't know. I don't even remember any of the songs from this.
Yeah, it might just be that it's fresher in my mind, but I just remember, like, when watching it, I was just like, well, these are better than Frozen, but it could also just be that I don't remember them from the ones with Frozen because they're just not memorable.
So, Olaf's Frozen Adventure is super cheesy and super sappy, though, on top of all that.
Yeah.
Like, it's sappier than the Canadian wilderness.
Yeah, it's, yeah, so we're just gonna go ahead and spoil it straight out the gate, because who cares? Yeah, so Elsa and Anna, they don't have any family traditions at Christmas.
Because they didn't have time to develop any since Elsa was locked away in her room for most of her life.
And their parents died
when
they were young.
So it starts off, they ring this bell, which is like the signal of the Yuletide.
Yule time.
And the whole
Yule bell.
Yeah. The Yule Bell, actually. The whole town shows up, and they had prepared a feast for...
I just straight up wailed that mic.
They prepared a feast for everybody, except after the bell rings, they all disperse, because they got their own holiday stuff to do. And Elsa and Anna are left there, aw, what do we do? We got all this food, and no one to eat it.
Which is bullshit that anyone would walk away... Anyone, like, in that time, in history, would walk away from free food.
Seriously.
Would not happen. Like, hey, you know what?
Especially all those pastries and stuff. Like, when do you get to eat pastries? Hardly ever.
Yeah. Like, hey, you know what? Maybe the kids don't get the new bullshit socks we were going to knit them or whatever. But you know what? They're fed really well for a night.
Well, you know what? We still
better.
We still have a few weeks to knit them some socks. That was someone's tradition, was knitting their grandkids' socks. We have a few weeks to knit some socks. We can spend an hour getting some food.
Free food.
Free food. Yeah, so they're all depressed because no one wants to stick around.
That's taxpayer food anyway, right?
Yeah, it's theirs.
Yeah.
They own the food, technically. Anyway, so Olaf is like, I know. I'm going to go find some traditions. So he and the reindeer...
Sven?
Yeah, I guess.
I think it's Sven.
I don't know. They go door to door, knocking on everyone's...
Nord.
Norden. Anyway...
Yeah, they go door to door asking everyone what their family traditions are.
And so he collects a little sample of everyone's tradition.
Yeah, there's like decorating trees and lighting menorahs.
Somehow there was one Jewish family
in
Norway in like the
17. I would say it's for like 1700s.
Yeah,
I think.
I don't know.
Were I to guess. But yeah, so...
Late 18th, early 19th century, somewhere in there, I'm guessing. Anyway.
I mean, it's hard to... Usually, for me, the easiest way to tell a time period is by the level of military technology involved.
There is none.
There's not... Yeah, so...
Anyway,
yeah, so he goes around collecting traditions, and the last one he has to collect is... Asana from...
That one guy that owned that store.
Yeah. And,
I only saw Frozen once. So.
Yeah. On his way back, the sleigh catches fire because Olaf is just the worst.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's still hot coals in that brazier for some reason. And yeah, and so the sleigh catches fire and it falls off a cliff and it then bursts into flames again. And then all that's left is like a fruitcake, which a hawk steals.
Yep.
So then
he decides he's just gonna stay out in the woods until he dies.
Well, no. First, he goes wandering. Well, yeah, okay. He goes wandering off into the woods with the fruitcake and is attacked by wolves. Meanwhile, the Sven or whatever, he goes back to get help. And he's like trying to pantomime what's going on with Olaf and what's his face. Can't figure it out, but Elsa and Anna instantly understand what he's trying to say. So they get the whole town together to go looking for Olaf in the woods. And Olaf, by this point, has lost the fruitcake, and he's just like, "All right, I'm useless. I'm worthless.
Yeah, somehow,
I'm just gonna sit here and die."
Somehow they convince this entire town of people in the middle of winter to go off into the woods at night to look for Elsa and Anna's black magic powered pet snow golem.
Which, frankly, I think it can survive a blizzard. You know, it can survive a night in the frozen woods.
Yeah.
It's a magic snowman. Right. So anyway, they find him and they cheer him up, and also Elsa and Anna were looking in the attic, and they found they do have a tradition, and that is every year Anna had given Elsa some rendering, drawing, painting, voodoo doll, whatever, of Olaf, since they were little girls.
Yep.
And that was their tradition. Their tradition was Olaf. And then they go back to the town and have a feast on a frozen lake, because that's comfortable.
Or whatever.
And,
was there a feast at the end of it? Was there a feast?
Yeah, like, remember Elsa used her magic to make this ice table, and everyone like sets down some food on the table, and they're all dancing.
I mean,
and,
I'll take your word for it. I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, that happened. And then she makes this like ice Christmas tree in the middle of the town, and
I think I had my face just buried in a popcorn bucket.
Yeah. Anyway, that's basically all it was. But there were like 7 songs in that whole short. It was like every minute, like there was a new song.
And we're pretty convinced that the existence of this travesty is the reason why Coco was released in November, at the end of November, at that, rather than in halfway through or towards the end of October, which makes a lot more sense for Coco.
Considering that it's about the Day of the Dead?
Yeah, it's like...
Which is like November 1st and 2nd or something like that?
Or... something like that. Anyway,
we're not Mexican, so sorry.
Yeah. We know that it exists and that it's... and like approximately what it's about, and that it's approximately the same time as Halloween. It might actually be the same day as Halloween. I don't know.
No, it's like the day after.
Is
or
it
something,
All Saints Day? But anyway, so yeah, we're pretty sure that this waste of computer memory that is Olaf's Frozen Adventure is the reason why Coco was released at what feels like such a weird timing.
Its actual several days begins the 31st of October and ends the 2nd of November.
All right, well there you go. So part of it is Halloween.
Yeah, but it was created to get the indigenous people to celebrate All Saints Day.
Right, which is a Catholic holiday.
Right.
Yeah, which there's a lot of holidays that are just Christians' way of getting non-Christians to celebrate Christian holidays.
Like Christmas.
Like Christmas.
Is one of those.
Yep.
Sorry, people, that's the truth. Anyway.
And Easter, I think, as well. Or at least all the stuff to do with bunnies and eggs on Easter.
Yeah, everything to do not with Jesus on Easter is that, yes. Yeah.
But
because
anyway,
it falls at the same time as the spring harvest, like the start of spring festivals, where because the bunnies and eggs are symbols of fertility.
Right.
So there were fertility festivals at that time in the pagan tradition. Anyway, we're getting off course.
Yeah, so on to Coco then, because, man, Olaf's Frozen Adventure, I really want to spend... I want to be done talking about it so I can purge it from my mind like I apparently did with Frozen, because I remember very little about that movie other than hating it.
Anyway, so Coco is it's kind of okay.
Yeah.
It's not a bad movie.
It's got really good ratings on IMDb.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I think it's actually a pretty good movie. I think our judgment was clouded going into it because we looked at it and went, well, freaking
Book of Life.
Book of Life did this extraordinarily well. Like what, 2 years ago?
Yeah.
What? It was the same year Frozen came out.
Yeah, same year Frozen came out.
Because Frozen won Best Animated Picture in the same year that Book of Life and The Wind Rises came out, which is a bunch of bullshit.
Those were both amazing movies, and
gorgeously animated.
Yeah, and if you're gonna watch one movie about the Day of the Dead, pick Book of Life over Coco.
Yeah.
Although, Coco might be a better movie than I'm giving it credit for, but I didn't dislike it. It's just, it's okay.
Yeah. I will say
it was pretty predictable to me, though.
Yeah, I was gonna say that is the one major complaint I had about it is, we'll get into specifically what, but in the spoiler part. Oh, we forgot to mention.
Oh, right.
We're doing a spoiler-free review of Coco, and then
a spoiler
warning, and we'll get more into it. But yeah, probably 40 minutes into the movie, we were like, "This is that."
Yeah.
This is how that's gonna turn out.
Mm-hmm.
And then once they revealed a certain plot point, we were like, all right, well, he's going to have to do this.
Yeah.
To save the day, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And he had to do that thing. Sure enough. There was one major plot point that we didn't predict way out, only because the clues about that plot point weren't given until minutes.
They revealed it.
Basically. Yeah, minutes before they revealed it, basically. So, there's that.
Yeah, but it's heartwarming, it's touching, and where it needs to be, and it had some humorous moments.
It did. Particularly when Hector is singing that song.
Oh yeah.
To the old guy who dies.
He's singing this song, and then he pauses and clearly changes the lyrics to be clean. The guy's like, "That's not how it goes. There are kids present."
Yeah, and you can in the context of the song, you can guess what the original lyrics are.
Yeah, and so the adults of the audience are laughing at that.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how much we can say. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's very. I mean, it's
you
Disney Pixar.
It's Pixar. What do you expect?
Oh, you know what was really cool about going to see Coco though, is seeing the teaser trailer for Incredibles 2, which I had already seen.
Right.
But I'd seen on my phone, and this was on a big screen. Because Incredibles has been deserving of a sequel for much longer than
Cars.
Any other. God, we had 2 freaking Cars sequels.
Yeah, well, with John Lasseter out,
yeah. Turns out John Lasseter, kind of a scumbag.
Maybe not as bad as some of the others, but
yeah.
Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Coco had, well, I don't know, a lot of Mexican heritage.
Yep.
I'll give it that.
They do a really good job, I think, of explaining, because I just had a very cursory knowledge of the Day of the Dead. I knew it was a day that Mexicans celebrated their ancestors, and that they knew it, or what they believe is that it's a way of remembering and comforting and communicating with their dead ancestors and their family. This
goes into a lot, but it goes into more depth about what the holiday is actually about than probably most gringos know.
Yeah.
So it does that. It does expose that bit of their culture to people who otherwise wouldn't know. They probably a lot of Americans thought, oh, it's just Mexican Halloween, which is I knew it was not Mexican Halloween, but
Yeah.
It falls at the same time.
It falls at the same time. There's lots of skeletons involved.
There's also candy and
Yeah.
treats for kids involved too, but
And like
that's
faces
true of
and
almost
stuff.
every Halloween. That's true of almost every Halloween. Every holiday.
Yeah.
Giving kids candy.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean it was decent.
Yeah.
If you have want to take your kids to see a movie, I recommend go see Coco.
Yeah.
Better than Justice League.
Okay. That's a resounding I can't think of the word right there.
Low bar.
No. Anyway, I can't think of the word.
Anyway, there's not much we can say about Coco without really spoiling it.
And once we do spoil it, there's not much more to say about it anyway, so...
Yeah, we don't have a whole lot to say about this movie in general.
Yeah, so... Go see it. I mean, if you like Disney Pixar movies, it feels very much like one of those. If you have kids, absolutely take them to see it. If you're on the fence about it...
I will say one thing. The exposition about the meaning of the holiday felt clunky to me because it's one character explaining to another character something they should already know.
Yeah.
Which is the worst kind of exposition. Like, it's so obvious. I'm like, this kid is like 12 years old, grew up in Mexico, in a small town in Mexico. His family is very much into this holiday.
There's no way he doesn't
There's
know.
no way he doesn't know the meaning of it.
Right.
And his grandmother is explaining it to him as if he doesn't, which is for the audience's benefit. I understand that, but it just feels unnatural within the context of the movie.
Yeah. It would have been better if the kid was explaining it to the dog.
Yeah, you know what? It probably would have been better.
Or better yet, at the end of the movie where the kid's explaining it to his younger sister or cousin or whatever.
Sister, I don't know. The child was not in existence at the beginning of the movie.
Right. If there had just been like an infant at the beginning of the movie.
And somebody explaining it to an infant or a toddler or something.
Right. Oh, well, there
A
was
baby.
toddlers running around in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, it would have been better as if
courtyard of their house.
if their grandmother had like taken them and explained to them what it was.
Right.
You
that
know,
would have been much better.
That would have, yeah.
And maybe like the kid's like stuck there having to hear this lecture about the Day of the Dead.
And he's already heard it like a dozen times in his life, you know. So.
Yeah, so something like that. Look, we fixed the movie, Nolan.
Yeah, because really, that was really the only. The movie doesn't have any problems.
No,
it's just it's not.
That was our one real hang up on it.
Yeah, it doesn't really have any problems, but our one real hang up is that Book of Life is a better movie.
Yeah. So yeah, I think from here forward there are spoilers.
Yes.
So, Hector being Miguel's great-great-grandfather, or great-great-great-great whatever grandfather.
Yeah,
How many greats are involved there?
I called that pretty early.
Yeah, maybe like halfway into the movie itself, but like
20 minutes?
20 minutes into them actually introducing the character.
Yeah, and then another maybe 20 minutes before they actually revealed it. Because they don't actually reveal it till like the very end of the movie. Not the very end, but right at the climax. Right before the climax is when they actually reveal it.
Yeah, like once it was revealed that he was also a musician, I think is when you were like, that's his real grandfather or great whatever grandfather.
Right.
The other thing was when it was revealed that Hector was almost forgotten.
Mm.
I was like, yeah, the kid's gonna have to get back and play music for his great grandmother.
Yeah, because it established that his grandmother had dementia or something earlier on.
Yeah.
Because she was like calling him like different names and like she never remembered his name.
Right. The only thing that I couldn't have guessed is that right from the beginning was that the specific song that he would have to sing was that "Remember Me" song.
Right. Also, we didn't expect.
But once it was revealed that Hector used to sing that song to her all the time,
Then we knew.
then it was like that. Well, that there's the song,
right? And then yeah, and then De La Cruz. There's this musician that Miguel thinks is his great grandfather, De La Cruz.
Ernesto De La Cruz.
And it turns out that Hector, this guy that's been his guide through the underworld, in life they worked together. And Hector actually wrote all of De La Cruz's songs. So one thing that was a surprise is that De La Cruz murdered Hector.
Right. So the clue we were talking about, so there's a part when De La Cruz also thinks that this kid is his great-grandson. They're watching this clip from one of his movies, and he's like in much the vein of like a lot of early like Mexican and country musicians. He was also in a bunch of spaghetti westerns.
Well, not spaghetti western is an Italian-made western,
right,
but he was in a musical western.
Musical westerns, yeah.
Yeah, that happened a lot back in the heyday of Hollywood.
Right, and so they're watching one of his movies, and the kids, like, it's established earlier in the movie, the kid's seen all the movies 100 times or whatever, and so he's saying the words along with the movie, and it says something about like this guy in the movie says a toast to De La Cruz. He drinks down this tequila, spits it out and goes, "You tried to poison me," and punches him or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And later on, when Hector is confronting him about stealing his songs and stuff, Hector says, that night that I died, you said this to me, and then you realize, oh, it's that toast. And then you're like, oh, so he poisoned Hector.
Yeah.
Because also Hector revealed that he died of what he thought was food poisoning from poisoned chorizo. Right?
Yeah, chorizo.
So, yeah, basically once he said...
I could see why you would blame chorizo in your food poisoning.
So,
I love me some chorizo, but it does bad stuff to my stomach.
Yeah, so the when he says, that night I died, or the night I walked out, you said this to me, I was like, oh, yeah, okay, so he poisoned Hector.
Yeah.
Like, it just... Everything was real obvious.
Yeah, so Miguel, if you're unaware of the plot, Miguel's family hates music. Because basically his great-great-grandfather walked out on his wife and kid to go play music. And so his wife was super pissed, so she just banned all music. And Hector has music in his soul. And so, or not Hector, Miguel has music in his soul. And, but his family won't let him anywhere near music. And he's like a naturally good guitarist and everything. So for generations, this family just has been anti-music. But it turns out the reason why, because Hector wanted to go back to his family. He was tired of the road. Yeah. He was tired of that life. He'd rather just go back to his family and settle down. And he was going to take his songs with him. And so De La Cruz, who is a great singing talent and guitar playing talent, is not a great songwriting talent, and Hector is a great songwriting talent. So he would have taken his songs with him, and that's the only reason De La Cruz is even known for anything, is because he's singing Hector's songs. So he murders Hector and steals his book of songs.
I mean, the best solution would to have been to have just pay Hector to write you songs.
Right. Go back to your village, and you can mail me songs.
Yeah.
And I will mail you money.
Yeah. Like, that would have been
the solution. But then he wouldn't have been the bad guy.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I think that's kind of all we have to say about it.
Oh, the joke we were talking about, though,
Oh, yeah.
there's this thing where because part of the belief of the Day of the Dead is that you remember your family, and if no one's there to remember, the spirits will disappear.
Yep.
And so there's this old guy voiced by Edward James Olmos, his old skeleton who is dying. He's about to disappear, and so Hector goes to borrow a guitar from him so that Miguel can play. And his condition was, you have to sing me this one song. And so he's singing this song, and it's like this silly song about the ugliest girl in the village, right? Just like describing how ugly she is. And he gets to the point where he's like, her knuckles drag on the ground.
Yeah.
And the other guy's like,
that's not how the song goes.
That's how the song goes. Like, oh, there's kids present.
Yeah. It's like a Mexican version of Katusha.
Right. But it gets to the end, and it's like, if I weren't so ugly, I'd have a chance with her. Or something like that.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, if I wasn't so ugly, maybe she'd give me a chance.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I've heard 100. I mean, not 100, but I've heard a lot of folk songs that are that same basic thing. Where it's like you sing this song, just like
the one eligible girl in the village is the ugly one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a pretty common trend, or a pretty common topic in folk songs. But yeah, so that's Coco.
Yeah, it's not a whole lot to spoil. I mean, we basically spoiled it. Miguel needs to go back to the land of the living, because he goes to the land of the dead because he steals
Ernesto's
guitar,
which you find out later is Hector's guitar.
Right.
Which is a pretty sweet looking guitar.
Yeah, it's cool. Like the head of the guitar looks like a skull, and it's pretty cool guitar. And I guess because he stole from the dead on the Day of the Dead is why that happened, as I recall. Was that it?
I don't think they ever actually explained specifically. Like yeah, he. Oh yeah, no, he caused a curse on his family by stealing the guitar. That's what it was. Yeah.
Right. Okay, so he has until sunrise to get the blessing from the spirit of one of his family members to return to the mortal world. But the only one who will bless him is his great-great-grandmother, Hector's wife.
Right.
But she will only send him back on a condition that he never touches a guitar again, or any musical instrument again.
That he won't play music.
Right, he won't play music ever again. And so he says okay, and he goes back, and then first thing he does is pick up the guitar, which sends him back to the realm of the dead. And so he's trying to get to who he believes is his grandfather. I mean, the clues are all there that it is his grandfather, as Ernesto de la Cruz. And so he's trying to get to him. He's like, he will give me a blessing that will send me back and let me
play music.
Let me play music. And he's just about to do that because Ernesto believes it too when Hector shows up and reveals the truth and everything. So,
well, he reveals the truth that Hector or that
De La Cruz had killed Hector.
Yep.
And so De La Cruz though is like, well, I can't have this kid going back and telling the world the truth about me because I have this reputation, and the reputation is keeping him alive, for lack of a better term, in the afterlife, because people the world over are remembering him on the Day of the Dead. They have their picture on there, whatever I forget what's called, a Spanish word.
Shrine.
Yeah, it's a shrine basically, but there's a word for it they used quite a bit. I don't remember what it is. Where they have the pictures of all the family members and offerings of their favorite foods and whatnot.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, so that's basically the whole plot, and then of course they find out his real parentage and reveal the truth about De La Cruz in the end and everything.
Oh yeah, and the idiot stray dog is a spirit guide.
Yeah, that thing. That thing that looks like that video of the Chupacabra.
Yeah.
Running down the side of the road was just a dog with mange.
Yeah.
But it's like that breed of dog.
Yep. So, yeah, that's Coco.
Yeah. Coco is his grandmother's name, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah. So
because it all revolves, everything revolves around Hector wanting to go home to see his granddaughter, or not his granddaughter, his daughter. and the song that he wrote for her and everything, which was De La Cruz's most famous song.
Yep. Well, yeah. So that's Coco. Yeah. If you're on the fence about it, nothing I can say about it will tell you one way or another, because I don't have strong enough feelings about the movie one way or another to tilt you. So it is what it is.
Yeah, it's just kind of an alright movie.
So either later tonight or tomorrow, depending on when this goes up, we got another review. And that will be... Have we decided yet?
No.
We've got Roma J's Real Esquire and The Man Who Invented Christmas. Right?
Yeah, and then whenever Darkest Hour gets to Vegas, because apparently isn't showing anywhere in Vegas yet.
Yeah.
We'll do that.
I would of those two, I'd rather see Roma J's Real Esquire personally, but it'll depend on other factors. And then next week we have The Disaster Artist.
Yeah.
Which we're all over that.
Oh yeah. You're tearing me apart! Oh, hi, Mark.
I think that's all we have, I think that's all we have coming up next week that we wanted to see.
Yeah, well,
And then the week after that is, one of the dead weeks on either side of Star Wars.
Yeah, but we might have to...
Maybe that's when we'll see Darkest Hour.
Yeah,
it'll be in Vegas
we'll
by
see
then.
the Darkest Hour by then.
Yeah. Yep, so that's what we got coming up. So look for another review this weekend, right?
Yeah.
And look for a review of The Disaster Artist next weekend. Which, if you don't know what that movie's about, please go watch The Room and then go watch that movie, The Disaster Artist. Like, it's... If you
can't see The Disaster Artist without having seen The Room. It's just...
Yeah, you just won't appreciate what is happening in that movie.
Right.
And
maybe even read the book it's based on.
Yeah.
The Disaster Artist, not The Room. The Room's not based on a book.
Yeah. If you claim to be a movie buff, you really should see The Room anyway. It's a cult classic.
It's an experience.
Yeah.
So, bye.
Yeah. Thanks for listening. Check out our streaming over on Twitch. Everything _is_bad. And tune in next week.
So long.
Toodaloo.